morning, everyone. Welcome to Jim, can you believe it? Episode number 69 of Merritt in the Morning. This is about 60 more than I think anybody ever thought we'd make it to.
Including you and me.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So you are watching Merritt in the Morning with your host, 30-year State Senator Jim Merritt.
He is Brad Kloffenstein. He is the president of the Greater Lawrence Chamber of Commerce.
So today we're going to be talking to Lauri Shillings. She will most likely be the Libertarian candidate for Indiana Secretary of State. But before we get to her, Jim, we got sponsors.
We do.
Luckily. They pay us money.
Yeah.
So we want to thank the Honey Baked Ham Company, locations at 96 in Michigan and Greyhound Pass in Carmel. Jim, you know, Easter's just around the corner.
It is.
So Easter ham, they're about to be busy. I haven't been by to see if they've got the semi-trailer outside.
And, you know, it doesn't have to be Easter or Christmas or Thanksgiving or anything like that. You can walk in and get a ham sandwich.
Yeah, they'll sell you.
Or any other type of thing.
Yeah, or a deli tray or pretty much anything you need. They're open for lunch and dinner 7 days a week.
There's sweet potato pie.
Ooh.
Chocolate cake.
All right, next time you and I have lunch, I think we ought to
go there.
We ought to do a honey baked ham.
Yeah.
Stop. You can get your fill of the honey mustard, and I'll get my fill of the ham. So also want to thank Stockyards Bank and Trust, locations at 71st and Binford, downtown Indianapolis, Carmel, Plainfield, which I now know is across the street from Dick's Sporting Goods.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, I know exactly what that is.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. They're at County Line and Emerson. They call that their Greenwood branch. That's right in the parking lot in front of Ale Emporium. Mm-hmm. They're down on 135 in Center Grove, or it could be Trafalgar, or it could be Greenwood. It could be any one of those.
It's just a wonderful neighborhood.
It is a wonderful neighborhood, a good traffic. Mm-hmm. Yeah, lots of traffic by that one. And then soon to open, in fact, we need to talk to Paula, see when the ribbon cutting is going to be on their new Zionsville.
Do you think they'll invite us?
Well, they invited us last time. If we don't get invited this time, they'll send a message. And they're coming to Whitestown and I think maybe Fishers. So anyhow, let's get on with the show. Lauri, welcome. Welcome to Lawrence.
Lauri Shillings.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Lauri has never been to Cafe Audrey's before, Jim.
Wow.
Yeah, they've got great coffee.
They have great coffee.
Yeah.
And they also work hard and be nice, just like us.
Yes, that's our show slogan.
I feel like that's a slogan that many of us could live by.
You know, there's not a whole lot to do it right now, so Jim and I are trying to bring it back.
Yeah.
So, all right. So you want to run for Secretary of State?
I do.
This is kind of like,
you are running.
Yes.
I am running. I've been campaigning for a year now. Yep. I announced at our last annual convention in March in 2025. Stepped right up to the plate, kind of got out of my comfort zone a little bit to do those things. So yeah, I'm absolutely putting my foot forward for that and have been learning more about the role, learning more about the responsibilities, and then I just really want to do a good job.
Mm-hmm. And where did you grow up? Where are you from?
I'm actually from the western half of Indiana. I grew up in Montgomery County. My family's been there since like 1824.
I was at Wabash College the other day with Make Good Decisions TV.
Yeah.
Great president there.
Yep. And
Wabash.
yes, my family actually contributed to that at one point. We contributed to a lot of things. My maiden name is Mahari, so we've been around for a little bit. You know, my family's been here for a long time, and then I see a lot of that service that my family has done in their area. My dad specifically has been in civic service for over 50 years. Mm-hmm. He was a police officer for some time. He was a first responder, so was my mother, back at that time when everything was volunteer. And then he was a volunteer fire chief for the remainder of that time, and just retired about 5 years ago or so. So cool. I see that kind of like service mentality, and that's what I grew up with. And that's kind of what the spirit I want to bring to Secretary of State's office.
Montgomery County is a beautiful place.
It is.
Driving through Crawfordsville and that Wabash College campus is just, and they do things right there.
They do. They've had a really long history of good association in the area, and they produce some stellar graduates that do a lot of good things in this world.
Great gentlemen who are attending school there.
Yep.
So professionally, what do you do?
I'm a creative director for the University of Indianapolis right now. I've been there since 2018.
Okay.
And I help lead teams through a lot of marketing challenges. I help guide the brand, their licensing, and then ensure that that is well represented throughout everything that we're doing right there. Right now, we're having a big push on an AI summit. So that's something that I'm helping with on their social media, and to make sure that that's well advertised and we get people in to come learn more about AI.
Nice. I could see that being very helpful in a campaign.
There's a lot of things that tie together with that. So marketing is kind of my bailiwick, and I've been doing it for a long time. So in Montgomery County, I worked at the Journal-Review, a newspaper. Was there for off and on for about 15 years. So, and from there, I went through some marketing in Carmel, Indiana. I worked for a place called Fat Adam, honestly. So, and then after that, I worked for UND. So my whole life has been around marketing. It's been about working with businesses and working hand in hand, trying to make sure that their businesses are being well served and that they're out going to do the best work, put the best face forward, so to speak, when it comes to the brand.
In the last year or so, when you've been campaigning, have you had time to establish a brand for yourself?
I have. We've been out basically saying it's Lauri for Liberty. I did run for Congress in 2024, so we've got a little bit of name recognition out there. But that was also a thing where the party as a whole that year was like, we need to have representation across the state to make sure that we can let everybody know that libertarians are out here trying to do this work. So we had a representative in each of the 9 congressional districts run, which was the first time we've ever had that happen. And we tried to just kind of build on that. And that's why I'm starting to run for Secretary of State this year.
And so have you been in most of the 92 counties?
I would say
it's a big state, Claude.
It really is.
And
yeah,
lieutenant governor candidate.
Yeah, I enjoyed doing that.
Right. And I have too, especially this last year, we've been working on trying to contact all of our delegates, first off, and try to get to many of the active counties. And then whenever there's a tabling event, I will try to go, even if it's not something that we would normally be hitting. So I would say I've been to about 60 of the counties so far as actual campaigning. Now, I do travel quite a bit for other reasons and just try to make friends wherever I go, honestly. Just have a conversation with people and let them know what we're doing. Here's libertarians and myself as a candidate.
So, obviously, for Secretary of State, that's something you want to do, but the Secretary of State's race is a smidge unique in what it means to parties. So if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah, it's certainly a crowded house, too.
Right.
Oh, it is.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
And it just got a little more crowded.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Indiana specifically, libertarians have a Secretary of State's race, and that's how we get our ballot access. We have to get 2% of the overall vote in order to keep maintaining that ballot access. And we've been doing that since 1994 successfully. And I'd like to continue that tradition. And it has become quite more complex in the last few weeks. We did have an independent who came on board who transitioned from the Republican Party and has trying to throw his hat into the ring as an independent. Now, just recently, he just had the paperwork filed on the 11th that we found on the SOS site. I don't know if that's a delay on their end or a delay on his, but he announced a week prior to that. And, the conversation around, is he running as a true independent or is he running as trying to establish a new party in Indiana? And what we run into is he cannot say he's running for a party until there's actually a party to do that. So that paperwork has not been filed. So we are not sure where that is in the transition. And that will make it a little more complex for us. I do think it's a good thing that there's more options on the ballot. I think it's fine. I think it's great. Indiana deserves that. They need to have some choices in their life. And this may be an opportunity for them to say, hey, we know that there's better options out there, and they don't have to do straight ticket voting. They don't have to pull for the RRD. And it makes them think about who's actually going to be on their ballot and what that actually means for them.
Mm-hmm. So now, for you and the Libertarian Party, what are the thresholds you need to hit in order for them to remain a ballot-qualified party in Indiana?
So it's 2% right now, and it's the same amount that anyone would have to get independent signatures for, which is 37,000 votes, bare minimum. We've done successfully and overperformed many times in the last several elections. So I see no issues with that. I hope to gain a little bit more. If we get 10%, we can have major minor party status, which means we can then start claiming we could actually have a primary if we really wanted to. As libertarians, we don't think that's taxable business. We think that's a private party thing. We don't think there should actually be primaries. That should be party business. And then we would also, if we do first or second place in any of the counties, we would start claiming election board seats in those areas.
I'm curious about you and the 60 counties that you've been searching for support, asking for support. Any good stories you have to tell? Because we had Nate Spangle on and with his podcast, and he always had a couple great stories about his travels in Indiana. And you know, Merritt in the Morning really is telling a story.
Right.
And do you have something in the back pocket that you'd like to tell our audience?
I say one of my favorite stops that we had recently was down in Seymour, Indiana. There was a restaurant there, and when you're approaching the restaurant, it goes through a big warehouse district that you're like, this is obviously a farming town, right? So there's big white warehouses. There's things that you're just like, there's heavy equipment parked around. And you're like, where is this restaurant going to be? What is this? And it's literally just in between all those things. And very obscurely decorated. There's a lot of aliens around it. There's some skeletons with some like Halloween skeleton decor.
Sounds like something you need to go.
Yeah, I got to check this place out.
I'm telling you, and I don't want to mistake the name, but I believe it was called Laura's Restaurant, honestly. And I was like, well, that's interesting. But they had a big marquee out front that says it's a little smelly, but the food is great. Because it's a farming area, so you'll have some aromas in that area. And I will say the food was absolutely stellar. I mean, some of the times that my kids and I have a thing where it's like the divier the outside, the more quality the food inside. So I was on board with that, and it was a good group, very active group down there in that area, and good conversations to be had. And there was another group that came in after us, and we're sitting adjacent, and they got involved in the conversation. And they were like, well, maybe we're libertarians too. And I'm like, I think you are. So, you know, just kind of making those connections is where we like to
be. It is. Jim, that's one thing I noticed doing a statewide campaign. Any restaurant that had at least 6 muddy pickup trucks out front, you know, is going to be awesome.
Oh, yeah, because they don't go just anywhere. They go where their money is going to be well spent, and it's like, that's the best food I can get for the dollar.
Yeah, you always, when you walk up to the front door and they've got that brush where...
for the boots.
Knock the boots off, that's right.
Knock the dirt off, the mud off the boots.
Well, I mean, I grew up in that. So, I mean, I detasseled for a living one summer to help pay for car insurance.
That's a thankless job.
Oh, it is. And
sunscreen.
That and a lot of flannel during the middle of the heat, keep the corn off of you.
Yeah. And you've got kids.
I do. I have 2, and they're adults now, and I'm very proud of them. Very proud of them. One is pretty much self-employed. He does car repair and construction work for himself, and then the other is a supervisor at UPS. You know, and making almost as much money as I am. I'm like, cheers, thank you. Somebody got launched. Yeah. It worked out really well.
Social media, a big part of your campaign?
It is. As you know, social media is probably the easiest ask that you can do.
Where do we find you?
You can look for LauriForLiberty.com nearly everywhere. And thanks, Brad.
Hey, you're welcome.
Working that out. Or Google Lauri Shillings. Lauri for Liberty is also a place that you can go for that, learn more about me. The website's up and active, has been for some time. Social media channels are all under the same moniker. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Just created the Twitch channel as well, so that if we start live streaming, we can start bringing people there to have live interaction.
Twitch.
Yep.
Twitch. We're not on Twitch yet, Jim.
We got to be on Twitch.
We're going to have to get on Twitch.
It's an
Producer
audience.
Josh now has a new task. I'm glad I just paid him.
Well, as long as you're not a political candidate, you can do it just however you want, but you have to go through special channels as a political candidate.
Yeah, you're the closest thing to politics we've done in a little while.
It is.
Right?
We've drifted away. We found out politicians are generally boring.
Of all things, I don't want to be boring. Okay?
No.
We don't either.
Yeah.
No, that's why we...
Honey Big Cam wouldn't like that, nor Paula at Science Bank.
No. Yeah, we tend to select the ones that are going to be interesting, not necessarily outlandish or flamboyant or crazy. We try to steer clear of them, but ones who are just nice and have a nice story to tell.
I've been known to be very practical in my life.
That's good. I've known you for 10 years at least.
At least 8.
At least 8. Okay,
Yeah.
8 years. So, yes, if I thought you were crazy, you wouldn't be here.
Well, I appreciate that. I feel like that's an endorsement.
That's damning with faint praise right there.
Yeah, right.
So we got to pause just for a second because we got sponsors, Jim.
Yes.
And we need to acknowledge those sponsors.
We love them.
We do love them. Stockyards Bank and Trust, location 71st and Binford, downtown Indianapolis, Carmel, Plainfield, Greenwood, Center Grove, coming to Whitestown. I feel like I missed one maybe. Definitely, and coming to Fishers, I think, and taking Zionsville. Oh, that's right, Zionsville. Yeah, coming right. It's right. It's ready to start. So, Stockyards Bank and Trust. Thank you very much for being a sponsor, longtime sponsor now. Jim, this might be our 3-year anniversary show.
It just might.
Congratulations.
I know.
Thanks.
It was
That's amazing.
Yeah. It was somewhere in March of 2023 that we started the show. We maybe should have had balloons and unicorns and stuff.
Some
We'll do
glitter.
that at 100.
Okay.
100 shows.
There we
100
go.
shows.
Yeah, we're not done. I'm not done with the sponsors. It's just now train of thought. Also want to thank the Honey Baked Ham Company, locations at 96 in Michigan, Greyhound Pass in Carmel. Thank you, Calb family, also for supporting us really since pretty much the beginning.
Yes.
So it's open for not breakfast, lunch and dinner 7 days a week. They do lots of carry out. You can eat in. They've got chips and soft drinks and sides and soups that they make in the house. And so they'll make you a to-go deli tray. They will make you a sandwich to eat there.
And if you want to be at breakfast, it's Cafe Audrey.
Cafe Audrey, exactly, where we do the show
Right.
98% of the time.
Yes.
So we've hit the road a couple times.
Times.
Yeah, we're coming to you from Cafe Audrey's once again. So back to our guest, Lauri Shilling, Libertarian candidate for Indiana Secretary of State. So, Lauri, obviously, Jim and I know what Libertarians stand for. Why don't you tell our audience what Libertarians stand for in case they don't know?
All right. I have this question quite a bit. So I've been working tables since, 2018, out on the circuit of not only in Hamilton County, but statewide, helping other affiliates. And people come up with, what's the difference? Well, I could do the world's smallest political quiz for you if you wish. That's always a fun adventure. But literally it is, if you're not hurting anybody and not taking your stuff, perhaps the government really should not be involved. And that kind of relates to everyday practicality of you best know how to govern yourself. The government really shouldn't be telling you how to live your life as long as you're not doing one of those two previous things, hurting anybody or taking their stuff.
Oh, that sounds too easy. That'll never work.
It is.
Right on me.
There's a lot of complexities within those statements, but that's the basis of it all. And people are like, yeah, the government really shouldn't be telling me how to live my life. I'm like, you're right. Absolutely.
That's nice. That sounds very simple and easy. I think people have a hard time grasping that.
Yep.
No.
There's individuals who don't want to have that responsibility, and I wish them the best of luck.
Yes. So you're a campaign. What are your challenges? Obviously, you're playing from behind a little bit just financially.
Yeah.
How do you go about a campaign strategically where you have limited resources?
Limited resources, you make the best of everything at that point. As many people do in the business world, you're doing the most with less. And that comes down to not only, a team, not only that, but financial, and then just general acceptance of you are a valid candidate. So we're making some headwinds with that. I'm not going to say that we're floating on easy street by any means. Again, any of those kind of things like volunteers and money are basically the hardest thing. When you're coming with work chests of millions of dollars in your opposition, you really do have to be very specific about your messaging. You have to be very specific about the channels that you use to reach out to people and targeting those channels to the appropriate people who might actually see and hear you and understand you. So those kind of things, super targeted in that. And very thankful I have a background in those kind of things, finding that segment of target marketing. And then not just speaking into a vacuum. Libertarians are generally going to vote for you anyway, even though libertarians are like, you're not the right kind of libertarian. That's a joke amongst us.
Jim's not the right kind of Republican. He gets it.
One of us. So, kind of targeting those messages is the biggest thing. And then social media is, I will say, not free, but it is the easiest way to reach out to people in a way that I can pull those triggers myself to get those informations out there. And then really taking a deep dive into your competition and be like, what are they offering? And then listening to the voter themselves. What makes your life troublesome in this area with the Secretary of State? And then how can we make that better? Actually listening and then responding to them rather than just a blanket statement of what they always say. Find a reason that you're doing the work that you're doing and then supply it, right? And when I'm out talking to people over the last year about this, number one thing that they have with the challenge of the Secretary of State is that website that they do. And it's not just the SOS, it's the Indiana Biz, it's all the things that go along with that. It's the elections things where you have to go do your paperwork. It's challenging because it's outdated. It's challenging because if you make a mistake, you don't even know it until it's too late. And then you have to call and have a remediation done. You can't just self-correct. And that's the one thing that I've said, if we could do any one thing is to fix that website, honestly. And businesses who are filing their paperwork, elections, anybody who's running a party who'd be like, I need to file my paperwork. Am I doing this right? Those kind of things are the most troublesome thing. And so that's what we focused on quite a bit, is trying to provide that. And I'm going to say this politely, if you're making headlines in this position, you're doing something wrong, honestly, especially if you're making headlines that are questioning your ethics or questioning your responsibilities or your support of the American people. So that's one thing that I really want to focus on, is making sure that this office stays absolutely neutral and absolutely focused on the voters of Indiana.
And you say you've been talking with people that were delegates last time in the Libertarian Party. That's your base.
Yep.
And have you had good success finding those individuals and keeping those individuals, as well as what is the base vote of the Libertarian Party, and who are those people?
So the base in Indiana, whether they're registered and paying members of the Indiana Party or not, you're looking at 3 to 5% of your vote, honestly. And, you know, as libertarians say, we don't like to pay money for anything because they're povertarians, so to speak. And those people are individuals who are disenfranchised with the two-party system. They feel like if they're voting for one or the other, they're getting exactly the same thing either way. And in Indiana politics over the last 40 years, honestly, the trends are about the same. Recent memory, 20 years or so, it's been Republican controlled. So I will say those people are the ones who are disenfranchised with the two-party system, two, feel like there's something better that could be done. And they're a small voice. They're not the people who are out giving the money to the campaigns, but they volunteer. They show up in their own communities where it really matters. And those are the people that we need to kind of contact on a regular basis to make sure that they're still, invested in the campaign. They are invigorated in their own communities. And then if I can help them in any way, I would hope that they would reach out and have a communication with me about that too.
So you brought up an interesting point. So obviously Republicans and Democrats, they get tracked, and the Secretary of State kind of knows who they are just based on them showing up and voting in the primary.
Right.
Libertarians don't get that, do they?
No, they don't. We don't have anything in the primary. Everything is promoted at their convention, either the county convention for local or at the state convention for statewide campaigns or federal campaign.
And when is that convention?
That is the 21st is Saturday. It's a business meeting.
21st of what?
March.
So
in just about a week.
Oh, so
we'll
you
be
have
doing
a
that
convention.
Next week. Yep.
Yes, and do you have an opponent?
I do not have anybody who stepped out in the Libertarian Party.
You're the nominee.
Right now. I am the presumptive nominee, seeking that nomination from the Libertarian Party. I can't say I am the candidate yet, but I am the presumptive candidate, so to speak.
But Jim, the Libertarians in their bylaw, I find this interesting, and I think it should be adopted more. Even if you're running unopposed, you have to run against none of the above at convention.
Right.
So you do have an opponent.
Huh. It's none of the above.
That's kind of the crazy person circuit breaker.
Right. And, there's been moments when people come up and speak for NODA. So if somebody comes through, and that is our checks and balance system of like, if you're not an appropriate candidate, if enough of the body thinks that you are not going to do a good job, they can speak to NODA. And that's anybody who wants to come in either and run for an executive position in the party itself or as a candidate to be elected. And it's one of the fail-safes that I think is a really good thing that I wish other parties would adopt. So
now, as far as I can see, Senator Rand Paul is kind of the icon of the Libertarian Party, but he votes in the Democrat caucus. Is there much conversation in your party about people such as Senator Paul?
He's going to be probably the flag bearer for early on. Justin Amash, who did flip to Libertarian in his congressional district up in Michigan, he's actually going to be speaking at our convention.
Oh.
That'll be nice to actually have a conversation with him about that.
Yeah, media.
Well,
digital.
one will hope media will be there. Abdul, of course, will be there.
Oh, yes.
We love to
he
see
will.
him.
Of course he will.
But, those kind of things, I will say Massey right now is another one in Kentucky who has been, I will still say he's a staunch Republican, but there's moments when he has libertarian ideals of maybe you need to consider a different option in what you're doing and how you're going forth rather than being beholden to a federal government leader, beholden to your constituents, which is kind of what I think most representatives should be doing.
So you mentioned Rand Paul. I actually had dinner with Ron Paul, Rand's dad.
Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah, it goes back 25 years ago.
Right.
Yeah, nice man, really nice man. So yeah, former congressman from Texas, physician.
Well, Senator Paul has great manners too.
Yeah. So yeah, don't ask his neighbor about that though.
I'm not familiar with the neighbor.
He got beat up by his neighbor one time.
Oh, no.
Something about cutting his yard, or I don't know exactly what it is. I don't want to speak out of turn, but yes, there was a dust
There
up.
was a disagreement.
There was a disagreement.
I hope they settled that amicably.
No.
No, not at all. Not at all. They settled it the Kentucky way, minus firearms.
Wow.
So, all right, let's back to Secretary of State. You mentioned fixing the website. What is it? What else would you like to do as Indiana Secretary of State?
So as a chief elections officer, the other thing that needs to be done is to make sure that our elections are absolutely neutral. Right now, people are in that position are absolutely just bowing down to whatever the federal government has dictated. And that's happening with a lot of our state leadership right now, where they're trying to appease a party leader rather than the people who live here. And this job needs to be ethically clean. It needs to be neutral. And they needs to have a little bit of backbone to say, maybe what you're asking me is not correct. Maybe it's not ethical, and I should not be complying.
So you're going to employ both your sons?
I will not. I will not be hiring my family members for six-figure families. I will not be.
Well, it sounds like they're on their own journeys anyway.
Well, and by gosh, they should be able to fend for themselves after a while, right? Mm-hmm. As a good mom, I think they should be able to launch.
Mm-hmm. So after the Libertarian Convention, what is your plans for campaigning for the rest of the summer and into the fall?
Right away, we already have a marketing plan set. So again, as we spoke a little bit before the podcast, where marketing-wise, we have lined up all of our strategic billboards. We have digital campaigns in place, media contacts that we're going to be doing. Thank you so much for this. Nice media. Appreciate that as well. And then, just trying to continue that momentum into that kind of like audience and working that way. Tabling events throughout the state. We're going to be at Carmel Fest. We'll have a booth there with the Hamilton County Libertarians, of course, which I'm actively involved in. And then multiple places throughout. So I know there's a place up in Valparaiso we're going to be hitting in the fall, and then Fort Wayne, Bloomington area. There, it's just wherever we can get out to spread our message. That's what we're going to be doing. Yeah.
Well, you'll be top of the ticket, so I would assume that doing things with other local candidates probably will be an important part of your campaign as well.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Will then take you out and you can catch the other 32 counties.
That's what we want to do.
Yeah. I will tell you, the hard ones to catch are Posey, Blackford, and Adams.
Blackford up by the 5th District area. It's actually up a little. They moved it from 5th District to something else with a recent redistricting. But, yeah, up that way.
It's a tall state. It's a long state.
It's very narrow.
Yeah.
It is. From Ohio River to Lake Michigan, it's a big state.
Right.
No question about it.
Yeah, we were just down at Clark County. It was a beautiful snowstorm, though, in the evening. It just snowflakes the size of this coffee cup.
Yeah,
It was
I
just
take Ken down there.
absolutely lovely. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, Lauri Shilling.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Shillings got an S on the end.
Yes.
I got to remember the S.
Yes.
So,
Lauri,
Lauri, Lauri, for liberty.com. I assume you'll take donations on that website.
I would love to. There's a big button right there that says, please do that. There's a big button.
That should be the biggest button.
Right. Because, these campaigns don't work without donors, and mine's all grassroots at this point. And we'd love to have you on board for that. And if you can't give your treasure, please give your time. We'd love to have volunteers.
Fantastic. Mm-hmm. Lauri Shillings, thank you very much for being our guest.
Thanks,
Best of
Brad.
luck to you in the Secretary of State's race. You've been watching Merritt in the Morning, episode number 69. Mm-hmm. We've been coming to you from Cafe Audrey's at beautiful Fort Harrison. Again, we want to thank our sponsors, the Honey Baked Ham Company, locations at 96 in Michigan, Grail Pass and Carmel, and the Stockyards, they're not just Stockyards Bank and Trust. Mm-hmm. Location 71st in Binford, Carmel, downtown Indianapolis, Plainfield, Greenwood, Center Grove, coming soon to Zionsville, and then Whitestown after that, Fishers after that. So thank you all for watching. We'll catch you next time.
1